architect, Casey Hamilton. But before I hand over the mic, I do have a few items to cover about today's presentation. Today's session will be recorded and made available on demand after the event. We'll make sure to provide some details at the end. Also, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you are on WebEx and have a question for our speaker, please feel free to use the question and answer panel to submit your questions. Our panelists are ready to respond. And for those tuning into our live stream, we thank you very much for joining in as well. Q&A is limited to those via WebEx. However, we will have a post-event Q&A thread over on the Cisco Learning Network community where you can post any follow-up questions you may have. So without any further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming Casey. Casey, over to you.
Thank you, Carlo. Hello, everybody. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll start our presentation here. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring us to our slide deck and then we'll jump into a demo here in just a little bit. So today what we're covering is related to mostly version 2.3.5. It's what we'll be using within the demo. What I have planned to cover is going over the new template hub, which is going to replace template editor, and then also show you some compliance check tools that have been added as well that's going to help a lot with standardizing your configuration and making sure that your intent matches your network device configuration. So today we'll go through each of these, and before we do that, I'm going to start off with the first poll. I'll hand that back over to Carlo.
Actually, Casey, I think we may need to skip the polls. We were experiencing technical difficulties on that one.
No worries. Okay, thank you. So first, what I'd like to do is, what are templates? Templates, they're found under tools, and if you're running version 2.3.5 or greater, it's found under tools template hub. If you're running version 2.3.5 or lower than that version, then it's going to be called template editor. And I'm going to explain the differences here in a bit. So what is templates? They're pieces of configuration that contain CLI commands. They're organized into projects, and they allow for use of variables, manual or system bind. They also have day zero and day end configuration options. Day zero is going to be when you first onboard a network device into Catalyst Center. It's going to see that device is new and it needs its base configuration. Or day end configurations are more so related to, hey, the network device has its base configuration. It's been in Catalyst Center for a little bit. Let's go ahead and push a day end configuration and maybe update some of its routing or various other aspects of the network device configuration. And you can also take advantage of scripts using Velocity and Jinja. To me, I think that's where the real power of templates come in, is it allows you to use programmability and variables to make it more fluid and seamless and allow you to craft CLI configuration in much shorter scripts and much more efficiently. So how are templates useful? Templates enable modularity and standardization, resulting in reduced complexity of managing various configurations for network devices across the enterprise. This is because it's in a centralized location that allows you to organize it in ways that I'll show you in just a bit. By reducing the complexity while increasing the standardization, there's a significant reduction in potential human error. We're going to see that as well. We can look at design conflicts, runtime conflicts, and make sure that there are no errors before the actual configuration is committed and then furthermore deployed to your network devices. And then finally, we have templates are fully customizable and allow for programmability, which can increase the speed and effectiveness of configurations. So here's a template overview. Um, the first step towards deploying a configuration over to a network device is to actually configure your templates. So this is where you're going to, if you use different note editors and made all your base configuration, this is kind of similar to that, but it has a lot more functionality. So first you'll want to configure your templates, and then after that, you will assign that template to a network profile. What this does is the network profile is assigned to one or multiple sites, and any device that is assigned to that site will be eligible for that template that's assigned to the network profile. Also, so your network profile is assigned to the templates, you'll assign it to a site, and now it's ready for provisioning over to the network device. So the template workflow is very simple. You create the template in Template Hub, assign the template to a network profile, and then you provision that network profile over to the network device. Next, let's jump into what Template Hub is. So Template Hub is an interactive editor available inside Catalyst Center. It involves centralized CLI management tool to design device configurations, and it helps building configuration for a similar setup of network devices. You can preview and test configurations before deploying, as well as looking at design conflicts. CLI templates allow customers to script their network configuration, so you can use projects, which are containers for configuration templates. This could be, for instance, by default, there's a day zero configuration project, and there's a day in configuration project, and then you can add other various projects that you wish as well, such as, say, like a routing project or a security related project, anything like that. And then you can organize your templates accordingly to that. You can also organize them if you wish based on site, device type, various other methods. And templates will reside within that project. So projects can contain multiple templates, and you can use those as you deploy them to your network devices. So I mentioned earlier, you have some programming languages that you can use. Cisco template languages that are included are Apache Velocity template language, which is Java based. And then we have Jinja template language, which is Python based. If Jinja isn't showing up, that means that your Catalyst Center is not on 2.1.x. So make sure that you're on 2.1.x if you want to use Jinja, because that's the version that it was introduced at. And when you start using template editor, you may see some sample templates available. This is to help you in kind of like understanding the programmatical aspect of Template Hub, and allows you to get acquainted with and start using things and assigning values to variables and creating loops within your configuration files. So Template Hub, simplified template management and provisioning. This is the main difference between Template Editor and Template Hub, which, of course, Template Hub, as I said earlier, was introduced in 2.3.5. You can already see it if you've used Template Editor before. It looks a bit different here. The big thing I want to point out is over here at Provision Templates, right here. Previously with Template Editor, what you had to do was you would create your templates here, but there was no way to assign it to a network profile. You had to go out of this menu, go to the Design tab, and then go to network profiles, and then create that, and then assign it to a site. And then after that, you had to go to Provision, Inventory, and then provision that network profile over to a network device. Now it's all within one dashboard. So what you can do is when you click, you can assign, see over here, network profiles, and here's a template I have. If I wanted to attach a network profile over it, I could just click attach. And then once it's attached, I can click provision template. It's going to take me through the workflow and then deploy it to that network device. We also have our new summary panel right here. I'm going to go into this a little bit more in the demo, but you can quickly filter through various items such as project name, type, whether it's template language based on device family. And one thing we're going to definitely look at is potential design conflicts, which is a logical based system for Template Hub, newly introduced, that can detect both design conflicts and runtime conflicts. So we'll check that out as well. Also, one thing to note, the export and import functionality, you can import and export JSON files into Template Hub. So it only accepts JSON files, but you can import your various configuration scripts through JSON into Template Hub as well. Now, detecting design conflicts in the CLI template, what you'll want to do is you'll want to click this conflicts filter, and it's going to show you any templates that might have either a design conflict or a runtime conflict. By runtime conflict, I mean a command. So let's say one command we're going to look at here in a little bit is NTP server. So if I did like NTP server with its IP address and that didn't reflect my intent, then it's going to flag that as a configuration conflict. Um, so what I can do is click conflicts, and then it'll show me a device that has some conflicts. I can or a template that has some conflicts, and then I can click test 01, which is the name of the template. It's going to take me over to the actual template itself, which is going to allow me to review the potential conflicts that will happen before I actually deploy it to a network device. Also, within Template Hub, we still have our template simulation feature to create simulations. Essentially, what this does is it allows you to create a simulation and make sure that that configuration that you're about to deploy to a device works beforehand. Um, it's very useful if you're using programmatic language, because also if you're using programmatic language through your templates, and it does increase complexity, but it also lowers the workload that you'll need to do to construct the template. But to test that programmatical logic before actually deploying it to device, you can click Create Simulation, and then you can work with different aspects. Say you have some variables within the templates, you can assign those values to various variables and then run the simulation. And it'll let you know if any issues are occurring or if everything checks out. And if everything checks out, you're good to go. All you would need to do after that is commit it, assign it to a network profile, and then provision it to a network device. So I spoke a little bit on day zero versus day N templates earlier. Day zero are onboarding templates. This is that initial configuration. If you're familiar or are planning to use things such as plug and play, you'll want to use day zero configuration. So you'll want to every template that you create, you'll want to make sure it's stored under that day zero project. If it's not, say for like PNP, or say it's a new device that hasn't been provisioned yet, it won't show up. It's not going to detect it. Um, Now, likewise, if you're using a day in template and you create that day in template and you try and provision it to, say, a new device or PNP using a day in template, that's not going to show up either. So it's very good to understand the distinction here, day zero versus day in, and which network template editor templates will come up when you actually go ahead and try and deploy it to a network device. So the main goal of day zero is to get the device online with base configuration. And the main goal of day in templates is to complete the device's configuration so it's ready for production. Also, we have composite templates. Composite templates are a set of configuration templates that need to be executed in a specific sequence. The user can define an order in which the templates need to be pushed. The user can also define whether the policy should abort the deployment on the target if the template deployment fails. The device type must be selected when defining a composite template, and only templates that have been committed can be added to the composite template. So if you're editing multiple templates, make sure it's saved, make sure you commit it, and then you can go in, create a composite template, and then you'll see all your templates available on the left-hand side that have been committed. You can just drag them over, reorder them, and then once complete, you can go ahead and save and commit this. And then after that, it's ready. After you assign it to a network profile, it's ready to go ahead and get deployed to a network device. Now, one other thing I want to talk about is so we have our programmatic uh, aspects using Jinja and Velocity for template editor or a template hub, but we also have our special keywords that we can use as well. So one thing, if by default the templates, they'll automatically by default, because templates are configuring the device, it's going to be in configure terminal mode. However, there may be some instances where you want to enter enable mode. To do that, all you have to do is do a little hashtag here, mode enable, and then another, write the commands and then a mode underscore end underscore enable to get back into configuration terminal mode. Um, the pound interactive, what this allows you to do is say you're doing like you're working on generating say a crypto key, and it's asking you to confirm, hey, do you actually want to generate this key, those commands where it asks you to confirm yes or no. This is where you can actually start your interactive sequence, so you'll have interactive. It'll say the question, and here is where you'll type the question that you expect to happen, and then you'll do an R with brackets, command response, yes or no, and then continue so on and so forth, all the way through the questions that you expect. So it's best to work through the CLI and understand exactly the questions that the CLI will ask and the response that you desire to put in there. And then once you have that information, copy paste it over into template hub while you're creating the template, so that that interactive process, Catalyst Center is able to detect it while it's happening. And then be sure to do ends underscore interactive once you expect that interaction to be complete. Also, you can do multi-line commands. This can be beneficial for things such as banners. If you're creating a long list or a banner, you can do bracket MLT CMD bracket, and then type your multi-line commands, and then afterwards you'll do a bracket with a / MLT CMD bracket, and it'll go ahead and end the multi-line command sequence, and then you can continue your configuration thereafter. Now, there are some block list commands. So router list for the Cisco Catalyst 3K, 4K, 6K series devices. Router Lisp is not enabled. Also, hostname for Cisco Integrated Services Virtual ISRV and Cisco Adaptive Security Virtual Appliance ASAV. The hostname command does not work for those. Now let's jump into compliance. So we're gonna look at configuration complex, which can somewhat help with compliance, but we're also going to look at another tool under provisioning, where we can run compliance checks and make sure that our intent matches the network device configuration, and it'll warn us if any devices deviate from our intent at all. So we're going to check this out a little bit further, but it will flag violations. And as we'll see, it's going to allow you to automatically fix the violations as well. Over here, you can see open violations. So right here, you will have the ability to, if you're aware of the violations and it's not an issue to you, you can go ahead and acknowledge the violations. I'll point that out here in a bit. It will be over on the right-hand side, and then it'll show under here, which will clear the violation. And you can always come back to acknowledge violations and view them if you decide, hey, this isn't actually the configuration that I want. So compliance check includes checking for device controllability. Is device controllability turned on within Catalyst Center? And if it is, are the network devices also using device controllability? Are they configured for it? If they're not, Catalyst Center is going to flag it and let you know. Likewise with certificates, are certificates enabled in Catalyst Center? Are they enabled on the network device? If they're not, Catalyst Center will flag you. Likewise with IPDT, telemetry, SNMP, AAA, DHCP, NTP, and network profiles. So Catalyst Center is checking all of these during the compliance check process, and it'll warn you automatically as well. So compliance check violation remediation, this is how you would actually go in and remediate various issues. So it's not only checking for network settings. Previously, I was going over the network settings piece, but it's also checking for things such as end-of-life devices, the startup versus running configuration. Do they match? Are they different? Has the network device running configuration been saved to the startup configuration? Are the network profiles in line with what's assigned to that network device for the site that it's under? Is the software image in compliance with the golden image? And how are the security advisories looking? Are there vulnerabilities on the network device? These are all things that we can look into and dive further into with the compliance check tool to make sure that we're running both a smooth operation and it's also running securely. So some other things that the compliance configuration violation includes is model config templates, CLI templates, application visibility, which is going to be more so your QoS related metrics, and then also Fabric, so SD access. It'll check for any compliance violations with SD access as well. And that leads us over to our demo. So I'm going to jump over to Catalyst Center. So I'm at the home page of Catalyst Center. I'm going to go ahead and click About and show you that I am currently running version 2.3.5.4. Next, I'm going to go ahead and click the menu icon, and then I'm going to go to Tools. You can see Template Hub right here. Again, if you're running below 2.3.5, it'll say Template Editor. So it will change to Template Hub once you upgrade to 2.3.5. And we see this familiar screen that we went over earlier. Here you can import projects or import templates. Do note it is a JSON file, accept sizes up to 10 megabytes. And here you can select the project name in which you want that template to be imported into. If I wanted to add a new project, I could click Add New Project and give it a name here. Currently, if I look at the filter icon on the left-hand side, I can see that I already have a few projects created. One being onboarding configuration. This is that day zero configuration that's here by default. It's always going to be here when you install Catalyst Center. Any template that's configured and assigned to this profile will only show up when you're provisioning a device for the first time or using PMP. All other template projects are considered day in templates, so they will be all other templates or that are stored under those projects will show there after the base configuration is deployed or after a network device is provisioned. So with that, we also can create our templates. To create a template, you can click Add New Template and give it a name. So I'm just gonna do switch base config. And then I'm going to click project name. I'm going to want to put this in onboarding configuration because it's base configuration. I can select, hey, do I want this template type to be a regular template or a composite sequence? That's where I can choose which method I want to put in. And then I can also choose, do I want Jinja or velocity? Keep in mind, you do need to be on 2.1 at least for Jinja. However, velocity will show up well beforehand. That was introduced, I believe, back in 1.2.5. And then we have our software type. So this part's very important when you're creating templates. Make sure that whatever template whatever device that template is intended for, make sure that the software type adds up. If it doesn't, that template will not be able to be pushed to the network device. This lab environment I'm currently using uses Catalyst 9300 switches for the most part, and they are running iOS XE. So I'm going to go ahead and select iOS XE right here. Also going to go to add device details here. This is another very important thing to keep in mind. You need to select the correct device family. Otherwise, when you go and deploy the template, say I were to select routers, but in fact, this template was intended for a switch, it's not going to show up. This is good because it makes sure that the templates that you are creating are intended for the correct devices. So it's kind of it's a good safety mechanism to prevent disruptions within your network, making sure that whatever template you create is going to the correct device. So I'm going to go ahead and click switches and hubs. I can get a bit more granular here, so I can scroll down and search, hey, what specific network device do I want this deployed to, and go here. I can also search the table as well, so I can like 9300, and I can see we have our Catalyst 9300 series switches. Go ahead and check that, and make sure to click Add here. And now we have our switches and hubs, Cisco Catalyst Center 9300 switches showing. So everything matches up. I can add additional details here, such as device tags, which would enable me to make it very searchable here. If I wanted to add any device tags, I could quickly locate this template. And now I'll go ahead and click continue. And it brings me to the template configuration page. I am not going to be working with this template to show you the next section, but I did want to show you this to show you how to create the actual templates and assign it to a network profile. So we can see under onboarding configuration, it's now here. I can come back to it. We can see it's not committed. I'll show you how to commit a template in just a second. But switch base config is here. It's using velocity. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this template. And next, I'm going to show you our potential design conflicts. So this is where we can actually check for various conflicts within the template itself before we actually deploy it to the network device. This is new to Template Hub. You can click compliance test right here. So I have this template created, and it was flagged as having some provision conflicts or device conflicts. Let's go over to provision conflicts and check. We can see that currently there's no conflicting commands that are found. So that indicates that, if there were any conflicting commands, then a device or multiple devices would show up in this list here. However, there's not currently any conflicting commands. Now, what it is pointing out is design conflicts. If I toggle this, I can see that this is going, these lines right here may have an effect with design. And if I hover over here, I can see that the design conflicts that it's actually going to affect is SDA. If I deploy this and I'm working with SDA, this is something to keep in mind. If I plan to implement SDA in the future for my network device infrastructure, make sure to keep this in mind and check for device conflicts before you actually deploy it to your network devices. Likewise here, any kind of configuration conflicts that might show on the network device that are currently existing, say there's some existing configuration on the network device, make sure that Catalyst Center will flag any configuration that's in that template that might have some provision conflicts that are currently existing on that network device. Next thing I would like to go into is you can see here that I have I have an IP address here, or it's expecting an IP address. So this is how I call out a variable. Um, I have two brackets, and then I have int underscore IP, which is the variable name, and it's wanting me to assign a value to that variable. How do I do that? What I can do is I can actually input a variable here, and I can flag it. If for some reason I don't want this to be a variable, I can toggle this off, and the system, when I go ahead and deploy it, it'll flag it as not being a variable. But it is a variable. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle it back on. And then what that's going to do, let's go ahead and run a simulation. So I'm going to do add simulation here, and let's make sure that that variable works. So let's do a simulation. And then I can select which device I actually want to deploy this to. This is not going to deploy it right now. It's just checking to make sure that the logic adds up for this template before I actually go ahead and deploy it. So I can assign an IP, which is 172.16.20.1, and then click run. And we can see that that variable that was currently existing changed to this IP address. So we confirmed that the variable is working. Again, you can use this with various methods. So you can use it with variables, but also if you have a lot more programmatical logic within your templates itself, like loops or if-else statements, you can test the logic of those as well before you actually deploy it to a network device. Now that that's complete, I'm going to go back to Template Hub, and I'm going to show you the process for actually deploying a template to a network device. So we'll go to project name, onboarding configuration, and we can see here that day zero config, this is base config template. It's not attached to any network profile currently. So if we recall from the slide deck, the first network profile, which has already been configured, and then go ahead and click save. We can also see that it's assigned to 13 sites. Click save here. And now that it's assigned to a network profile, I can go ahead and provision the template itself. So let me go ahead and refresh. All right. Oh yeah, that's one thing. Make sure that you uh, before you actually deploy a template to a network device, make sure you have saved the configuration and then you've done a commit as well to make sure that it actually shows up. And I'm going to show you the network profiles in just a second, how to actually create them from the design section as well. But let's go ahead and look at, so day in test template. Here I can go ahead and click provision templates from here. And it's going to take me through a workflow of getting started. I can select which devices I actually want to deploy this to. I'm going to select all. And we have our day in test here. And then I'm going to click next. It's going to load the templates. And here I'm just checking. This will give you the option if there's any variables or if it needs any input for any network devices. I can click here and it'll show me if there's any variables here. We can see no variables are found, but this is where I'd enter the value at the time of provisioning to go ahead and deploy it to the network devices. And I'll go ahead and click next, and then I can go ahead and deploy it. I'm going to go ahead and X out of here. And I do want to show you the actual place to go in and view your network profile. So I'll go to design, network settings. Oh, sorry. Sorry, design network profiles. And there's our network profile that we used earlier. It's a test 9300. We can see that it's assigned to these sites right here. If I wanted to select global, I could make this very granular. Say I wanted the templates I'm creating and assigning to a network profile. I will only want it to apply to network devices that are assigned to only building 2. What I could do is I could uncheck all of these and then just click building 2, click save, and it'll only be available, that template will only be available to devices that are under building 2. Uh, so click out of that. To actually create a network profile, you can create multiple different network profiles. You can see we have a wireless network profile as well. If I wanted to edit this profile, I can look at, hey, is this an onboarding or a day in? And I can see which templates are currently attached to it. So we have our compliance test and our day 0 config that are attached to the onboarding templates section. And then we have our day in templates. We have multiple templates that are assigned over on this section as well. So you can assign several different templates to one network profile and then deploy those to your network devices. Next, I'm going to go ahead and move into the compliance check tool. We can see here that our Edge 1, this is the device I'm going to be working with. We can see here that it's not compliant. If we wanted to get information on that, we can drill into it a little bit further. I want to show you beforehand, why is this not compliant right now? Well, I did a little bit of a configuration change. If I go to design, network settings, and then I'm under the network section right here. If I scroll down, you can see my NTP server, this is my intent. So I'm expressing my intent of the network device settings that I want across my network based on the site I'm currently under. So 172.16.10.103, that's what I want configured on my network device. Now, if I go over to Edge 1 CLI, I can see that the NTP server is configured for 172.16.10.102. Okay. So it's not matching my intent. This is 103. Let's go back to provision inventory and go into this a little bit further. Now, one thing to keep in mind, make sure that if you were to test this out on your own, if you were to say change some configuration on your network device and test it out, make sure to do a resync device. Catalyst Center will resync devices automatically, but to force a resync, you can do a resync, and then it'll go ahead and check and make sure, hey, is this device compliant or not? Uh, now, go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and check this box and then click Actions, Compliance, and then I can actually run a compliance check here. Uh, Now, I've already ran the compliance check. It's non-compliant. If I wanted to run it, I could click Run Compliance Check. It's going to go ahead and run. Compliance check triggered successfully. It's in progress. This won't take too long here. I'll give it just a second. And we can see our other devices are currently compliant as well. And we can see the compliance check's complete. I click compliance. It's going to take me over to the device summary section automatically to compliance right here under summary. And we can see the various stuff I was mentioning earlier, EOX end of life, startup versus running config. This checks out, looks good. Startup and running config matches. There's no critical security advisories. Golden image is not available currently. I can set that if I wanted to within software image management. But the real thing I want to look at here is network device settings. This is why it's currently failing our compliance check. So I'm going to click network device settings, and then we can see, all right, 103, 172.16.10.103 was actually removed from the configuration. And then 172.16.10.102 is added. Well, that's not what I want. So what I could do is I could click Fix All Configuration Compliance Issues. And what Catalyst Center will do is correct this issue automatically. It's going to remove the 102 NTP server address and then re-add 103 in. Now, let's say, for instance, I uh, I wanted 102. I didn't, that change was meant to happen. What I could do is actually acknowledge here both of these, and then what it'll do is I can click the tab and it'll show over here as well. Now, to fix all configuration compliance issues, I can click here and then schedule the fix. I can schedule it for now. I can do a generate preview and then click apply. And it's going to go ahead and do the fix. Once the fix is complete, may take just a second, we should see that Edge 1 is back in compliance with network device configuration. So we'll give it just a second here. May take just a bit. We can see over here that remediation is currently in progress in the compliance section. And it's still flagging it as not compliant. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. Looks like some other aspects were created. Radius settings, looks like, okay. Looks like it may need to map the NTP server somehow. Maybe some settings got mixed up. Let's go ahead and run another compliance check and see if we can sort through this. You can also click generate preview, which will let you see what's actually being deployed to the network device. I'm going to click apply here. It's going to go ahead and do another fixes in progress. You can see remediation's in progress. We'll give it a little bit more time. And we can see it's now compliant. So Edge 1 showing compliant. If I were to click here, you can see there's no open violations currently. So the intent is up to date. With that, I'm going to go ahead and jump back over to the slide deck presentation and skip past this poll. I know we were having some technical difficulties with the poll. And then I'm going to go to finish up with some key points to remember. So first, you can use programmatical language, including Velocity and Jinja, to make your configuration more seamless. Make sure to make use of various samples that are automatically within Catalyst Center template library to get familiarized with both Velocity and Jinja. Day zero templates are only available to be deployed to devices during first time provision. After this, you must use day end templates. The template hub will keep your templates organized and detect any conflicts within them. Make sure to use that template conflict option to review both design and runtime conflicts. Then finally, the compliance check tool will help you identify and remediate any changes done within your network devices to make sure that they are both matching your intent and increasing the security and operations of your network devices. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Carlo for some live Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. So at this time, we'll go ahead and open up the Q&A session. As a reminder, if you can please submit your questions using the WebEx Q&A panel. And again, for those that are joining the live stream, it is limited to the WebEx Q&A. However, we do have a post-event discussion thread where you can post follow-up questions. Question one, Casey, is I don't see Jinja available in Catalyst Center under Template Hub. Where is it?
For Jinja to be available, again, you need to be using 2.1.x or greater. Once you if you're lower, just make sure to upgrade to 2.1.x or greater, and then after that, Jinja will be available, and you can start using the Python-based language.
Thank you. Moving on to our next question, Casey, is I have a template assigned to a network profile. However, it isn't showing up when I try to provision the template to a network device. How can I fix this?
For this, there may be some things going on. First, you want to make sure that the template that you have, make sure that that software version matches. So, for instance, I showed you earlier the iOS XE bit. Make sure that that matches. Also, make sure that the device family matches. If those don't match, there and also the network profile. If the network profile, if that's assigned to a site that the network device is not under, if all three of those options don't match, then that template won't be showing up for provisioning. So there's some three things to reiterate. You need to make sure that the network profile is assigned to the correct site, the software version matches up, and then also it's assigned to the correct device family.
Thank you very much. Moving on, I don't see Template Hub in Catalyst Center, but I do see Template Editor. Is this the same thing?
It is the same thing, kind of, but Template Editor is a little bit older. If you want to see Template Hub, make sure you're at version 2.3.5. Again, Hub has a lot more functionality, and it decreases the amount of steps you need to do in order to deploy templates to a device. You can create templates on the fly within Template Hub, and then assign it over to a network profile, and then go ahead and provision it all within one dashboard. Whereas template editor, it's a little bit more complex. You need to go between different menus. If you want to go ahead and test out Template Hub, just make sure that you upgraded version 2.3.5.
Thank you. Okay. And this one, I'll go ahead and open it up to the other panelists if they want to unmute their microphone. The question is, do the special keywords work in both Jinja and VTL templates or just VTL templates?
Good question. Yep, they work in both templates. So either way, yeah, you can use them in Velocity or you can use them in Jinja.
Awesome. This question is about version. They're asking, when will 3.7.x be ready for download?
For download, it is currently for ESXi in AWS. However, if you're not using that, it's expected to come out here very soon. I don't have an exact time frame for you, but expect it very soon.
Awesome. All right. I have a user who states, I am not using Catalyst Center at the moment. Is this an add on when you purchase Catalyst devices?
An add-on, what you can do is if you're using Callus devices currently, speak to your account representative. They can get you set up with, say, trialing a Catalyst Center device. Also, something that you can that has recently come out is you can use Catalyst Center has been virtualized, so you can test it out within AWS as a virtualized appliance, and also through like an ESXi VMware host as well.
Thank you. Okay. Uh, the one attendee asks, what's the purpose of, in this case, network profiles, what they meant, um, and how do you create network profiles?
Yeah, so network profiles are essentially what they do is they assign so like say you have a network profile, they allow you to assign multiple templates to a network profile that pertain to a site. Exactly what they are is they allow you to define what or where those templates should reside within your entire network infrastructure. So, say I have site A and site B. Um, what I do with the network profile is I'm going to actually I can choose. Do I want to assign it to both site A and site B, or do I just want to assign it to site A? And if I assign it to site A, all the network devices within site B, they're not going to be able to use those templates that I have assigned over to that network profile. So it allows you to organize, it's more of like a container based system, but it allows you to organize where exactly do I want those templates to be provisioned at to it and also to which network devices.
Thank you. Okay. And adding on to that, same user asks, how do you enforce compliance based on your general network settings? So I would assume you would use those network profiles, but feel free to talk about it.
Yeah, compliance based on your general network settings. So Catalyst Center will automatically start enforcing compliance. What you'll want to do is you'll want to go to the design section, network settings, and there is where you actually define your intent. So you can configure your DHCP servers, AAA servers, NTP servers, etc. And what Catalyst Center is going to do is automatically going to be scanning those for any violation within that intent that's expressed. And if there's any issues or if there's any violation within that intent, it'll automatically go ahead and start flagging devices and letting you know that that intent has been violated. And you can also enforce it through manually checking the or running a compliance check, which will do the same as well.
Thank you. Okay, next question I have here. What is IPDT on a switchboard?
It's IP device tracking. So if I had like a network device, this is key for assurance. Let's say that a device I wanted to see that an IP device was connected to a specific port on a switch within assurance. What this does is it'll allows me to see, hey, is this port active? Does that an IP address? Has it been onboarded? And what that'll do is within the assurance section, it can also flag any issues that are going on with said port or endpoint at that time as well. And
Awesome.
Carlo, are you still there?
Yeah, just looking at the questions, and it looks like we've covered majority of them. Well, actually, all of them. But is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, well, thank you everybody for joining. I hope you learned a lot from this session. Be sure to check out 2.3.5 Template Hub and Template Editor. Also, be sure to check out our community post that we're going to do. We're going to post a Q&A. If you have any questions, post them in there. I'll be sure to monitor it and provide any input or answers to your questions as you get familiarized with Template Hub and the compliance check tool. And thank you to our panelists as well for answering the questions as I went through the demo. Y'all have a great day.
Awesome, great. Thank you very much, Casey, and the whole team. Bring again for bringing your knowledge to the Cisco community. If you have